Council President, council members, and participants, we are now live.
And good morning, everyone. We're going to get started. But before we begin the council session today, I will make the following announcement. Due to the continuing threat to public health from COVID-19 and the Delta variant, City Council is currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make this remote meeting possible. Instructions for how the public may view the meeting and offer public comment are included in the stated meeting notice that was published in the Daily News, Enquirer, and Legal Intelligencer prior to the meeting and can also be found on phlcouncil.com. Now note that the hour has come. The clerk will please call the roll to take attendance, and members that are in attendance, please say you're present or a couple of words to make sure that your image is displayed on the screen. Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues, and the viewing public. Good morning.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues, and Philadelphia. I'm present.
Good morning.
Councilman Dom.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gautier.
Good morning, Council President and colleagues, and to the public present.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning, Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gim.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I am present.
Good morning.
Councilman Johnson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Just sending prayers out to all the families who have lost loved ones to senseless gun violence.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Councilman Jones.
Good morning, Prez. Good morning, colleagues, and congratulations to all the minority entrepreneurs out there. It is Medweek.
Good morning. Thank you for that notation, Councilman.
Councilman O.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Parker.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. Good morning, Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez.
Good morning, buenos dias, buenos dias. Thank you, Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you all my colleagues for sharing with the communities throughout the city. Thank you.
Buenos dias.
Councilman Squilla.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. Present.
Good morning.
Councilman Thomas.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Council President Clark.
And good morning to you all. Thank you very much. We've established a quorum. So we're going to start out with our invocation. And to give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes Iman Jamil Abdullah of Philadelphia Masjid. He is here today as the guest of Councilwoman Gautier. I would ask all members and guests to please bow your heads for the invocation. Iman, please.
First, I want to say good morning to the Council President and the Council members and also the citizens of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Just let us take a moment out as I open up in prayer. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. With the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, all praises are due to Almighty God, the Lord, cherisher, sustainer of the world, most gracious, most merciful, master of the day of judgment. Thee alone do we worship, thy name we seek. Show us the straight way, the way of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy grace, those whose portion is not ravished, and who go not astray. Amen. And my prayer for today and our prayer is that Almighty God will keep our council members safe, will keep you under his grace and mercy, will allow you to stand up and speak for what's right, stand up for excellence and dignity for all the citizens of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, that he will protect you as you legislate laws and as you travel out there, that he will always keep you under his mercy, and that he will allow you to work together collectively for the common good of all citizens of Philadelphia and really citizens throughout the country, that we can work collectively together to make this wonderful city, Philadelphia, a place that we know it is capable of being. We can all live together in peace and harmony, and we can do the things that's necessary that Almighty God has commanded us to do, and keep up the good work, the council members. And I want to say that our prayers are with you and your family, that He will always keep you safe and allow you to do things that is most pleasing to Him, first and foremost. Again, we'd like to just say thank you, keep up the good work, and our prayers is with you and your family, and let us work collectively so we can just show the world that Philadelphia is just a wonderful place to live and a wonderful place to bring their family and live in peace, tranquility, and harmony. May God's mercy and blessings be upon all of you. May He keep you safe and keep you under His grace and keep you all under His protection. Thank you again. Peace be unto you. Thank you again. May God's mercy be of peace and His blessings be with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Iman. Thank you for the invocation and the spiritual guidance this morning. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, September 30th, 2021, and the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting on Thursday, September 30th, 2021 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, September 30th, 2021 stand approved. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and the journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of council, a leave of absence is requested for council members Heenan, O'Neill, and Green.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Leave shall be granted for those council members. Let the record reflect. We have a motion on the Sunshine Act, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion concerning certain legislative matters that may arise during the course of today's session of council, and that were not listed on the calendar circulated prior to today's session. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that any of the following matters, if considered today, may be added to the agenda for this session of council and, as required by law, subsequently published on an amended agenda after the consideration of those matters, resolutions authorizing hearings, amendments to bills on first reading, the reconsideration of a bill vetoed by or recalled from the mayor, resolutions taking substantive action to be voted on in this session, a motion to withdraw a bill or resolution that is not on the calendar, and a motion placing a bill or resolution on or returning a bill or resolution from the suspension calendar that is not listed on today's calendar. The purpose of this motion is to provide the public with notice concerning possible actions by council that arose too late to be included on the calendar that was published prior to today's session.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that the legislative matters stated by Councilwoman Parker may be added to the agenda for today should those matters arise during the council session. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it. Motion carries. And our next order of business is communication. And Mr. Decker, would you please read the messages from the mayor and any other communications that you may have in your possession?
From the mayor to the president and members of the council of the city of Philadelphia. Pursuant to sections 4604 and 2307 of the Home Rule Charter, I am today transmitting to the council the recommendation of the City Planning Commission on the following bills. Bill numbers 210629, 210633, and 210689. And I'm submitting herewith for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution confirming the reappointment of Brian J. McCormick as a member of the Board of Ethics to serve in the term ending November 16, 2026, and a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2553 Kern Street, located in the 1st Councilmanic District, and an ordinance amending Section 2 of an ordinance, Bill number 170002, approved May 22, 2017, entitled, an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 269 by relocating the easterly house line of University Avenue from a point approximately 545 feet north of Curie Boulevard to a point approximately 236 feet further northwardly therefrom, a variable distance eastwardly, thereby widening said University Avenue, by extending the period for compliance with the terms and conditions stated therein. And an ordinance authorizing an increase in the non-electoral indebtedness of the city within the Pennsylvania constitutional limit, authorizing the bond committee to sell bonds at public or private negotiated sale, to provide funds toward various capital municipal purposes, providing for appropriations to the Sinking Fund Commission for the payment of such bonds, and authorizing agreements to provide credit or payment of liquidity sources for the bonds in connection with issuance of the bonds, and certain other actions, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our communications, and our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. By way of a reminder, we are asking that all resolutions, including privilege resolutions, be placed on the final passage calendar for the next session of council unless they are being referred to committee. In our current remote environment, this procedure will provide an appropriate opportunity for public comment. I want to thank you very much for your anticipated cooperation. Mr. Decker, would you please read the titles of the legislation that is being offered today by our members?
Yes, Mr. President. Councilwoman Parker offers 2 bills and 1 resolution. On behalf of Council President Clark, Councilwoman Parker offers an ordinance amending Bill number 200351, entitled an ordinance authorizing the operation of sidewalk cafes during the COVID-19 emergency until December 31, 2020, in areas of the city where such activity currently must be otherwise authorized by special ordinance, and allowing expanded activity by currently licensed sidewalk cafe operations, as amended by Bill number 200497. To further extend the date, Bill number 200351 will remain in effect.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance amending Bill number 200352, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 11100 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled General Provisions, to authorize the Streets Department to permit closure of the public right-of-way during the COVID-19 emergency, as amended by Bill number 200498. To further extend the date, Bill number 200352 will remain in effect.
For the committee.
And on her own behalf, Councilwoman Parker offers a resolution recognizing October 18 through 24, 2021 as National Estate Planning Awareness Week.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Jones offers 1 resolution, entitled a resolution recognizing and honoring the United Age Group Track Club Association for its dedication to the development of young track and field athletes, and further authorizing the Committee on Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs to hold hearings on the state of track facilities in the city of Philadelphia.
This week's calendar.
Councilman Johnson offers 4 resolutions, entitled a resolution recognizing the 7th Ward Tribute and Artistic Installation Project, paying homage to the remarkable Black history of Philadelphia's 7th Ward for its dedication to preserving Black history and culture in Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution honoring Ann Ewers on the occasion of her retirement as president and CEO of the Kimmel Center Incorporated for 14 years of outstanding service to the Philadelphia cultural community and to the entire city of Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution also naming the 2000 block of Christian Street, Father John Vanderpeer Way, to honor the life and legacy of Father John Vanderpeer.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution also naming the 2300 block of South 21st Street, Ronald R. Donatucci Sr. Way, to honor the life and legacy of Ronald R. Donatucci Sr.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gautier offers 2 bills, entitled an ordinance amending Title 12 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Parking Regulations and Penalties, to add a new section entitled Parking for Qualified School Employees, to provide parking for certain school employees at certain locations.
For the committee.
And an ordinance amending Section 2 of an ordinance, Bill number 170002, approved May 22, 2017, entitled an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades in a portion of City Plan number 269 by relocating the easterly house line of University Avenue from a point approximately 545 feet north of Curie Boulevard to a point approximately 236 feet further northwardly therefrom, a variable distance eastwardly, thereby widening said University Avenue by extending the period for compliance with the terms and conditions stated therein.
For the committee.
Councilman Thomas offers 2 resolutions, entitled A Resolution Authorizing the Committee on Education to hold hearings on the procurement, contracting, and management processes of the School District of Philadelphia for student busing to establish what, if any, errors, omissions, or lessons learned can be derived from the systematic failure of contracted busing to deliver students on time and ready to learn.
This week's calendar.
And a resolution honoring and congratulating Champion of the Week, Northeast High School boys volleyball team on their successful 2020-2021 season and their Philadelphia Public League championship win.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Squilla offers 2 bills and 2 resolutions. On behalf of Councilman O'Neill, Councilman Squilla offers an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Oxford Avenue, Shellmeyer Avenue, Rising Sun Avenue Extended, Solly Avenue Extended, the county line, Borbeck Avenue, Hasbrook Avenue, and Hartel Avenue.
For the committee.
On behalf of Council President Clark, Councilman Squilla offers an ordinance amending Section 121120 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Abandoned Vehicles to authorize public safety officers to authorize the removal of abandoned vehicles.
For the committee.
On his own behalf, Councilman Squilla offers a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2553 Kern Street, located in the 1st Councilmanic District.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution designating the week of Sunday, October 10th through Saturday, October 16, 2021 as Italian American Heritage Week in the city of Philadelphia, and honoring Joe Piscopo as the Grand Marshal of the 2021 Philadelphia Italian American Parade. This year, the parade is also dedicated to the life and legacy of Anna C. Verna, longtime city council member, a lifelong supporter of the Italian American Parade.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Bass offers 5 bills and 1 resolution. Entitled An Ordinance Establishing Parking Regulations in the Vicinity of Shawnee Street and Abington Avenue, Chestnut Hill Avenue and Bethlehem Pike, Highland Avenue and Germantown Avenue, and Tohopeka Lane, Ardley Street and Southampton Street, Springfield Avenue and St. Martin's Lane, Meade Street and Shawnee Street. And an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Mentor Street and Windrum Avenue, Pelham Road and Mower Street. And an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Sullis Street and North 2nd Street, Ashdale Street and North 4th Street, Rittenhouse Street and Wissahickon Street, and an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Tioga Street and North 15th Street, and an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Penn Street, Morris Street, Coulter Street, and Priscilla Street.
Those 5 bills will be referred to the appropriate committees.
And a resolution honoring Frances Fuller for her dedicated service to the city of Philadelphia.
And that will be on next week's calendar.
Councilman O offers 1 resolution entitled a resolution calling on the U.S. Department of Education to resolve bureaucratic errors within the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which have led to the exclusion of qualified veterans and other public servants.
Next week's calendar.
There are no other bills or resolutions being offered today by the members, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions. And next we will have our reports from committee. And the chair recognizes Councilman Jones for a report from the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Finance reports out 3 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read the report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Finance, to which was referred Bill number 210681, entitled an ordinance approving the 2021-2022 Neighborhood Preservation Initiative Program Statement and Budget, which addresses the expenditure of $100 million by various agencies in the first year of the Neighborhood Preservation Initiative Program, and approving a substantial amendment to the Annual Action Plan 2021-2022, the city's Consolidated Housing and Housing-Related Expenditures Plan, to incorporate the program's statement and budget into the action plan. And Bill number 210682, entitled an ordinance authorizing the city treasurer on behalf of the city to enter into an amendment to an agreement with Citizens Bank of Pennsylvania for provision of payroll banking services to the city. And Bill number 210684, entitled an ordinance authorizing generally the continued issuance and sale by the City of Philadelphia of gas works revenue notes of the city, prescribing the form of notes and providing for their execution and payment, pledging certain revenues of the gas works as security, adopting a rate covenant, and directing the imposition and collection of rates and charges sufficient to comply therewith. Respectfully reports it is considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Chair again recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you again, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended as to allow first reading this day of bills number 210681, 210682, and 210684.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to amend first reading this day of bills number 210681, 210682, and 210684. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar today. That concludes our reports on committee, and our next order of business is consideration of the calendar. I note that the bills just reported from committee with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had their first reading, and these bills will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion concerning the resolutions on the final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the following resolutions on the final passage calendar. They are resolution numbers 210755, 210785, 210786, 210788, 210789, 210790, 210791, 210793, 210794, 210796, and 210797.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the resolutions just read by Councilwoman Parker. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries, and we will consider the resolution consent agenda shortly. The chair again recognizes Councilwoman Parker for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. In addition to the resolutions being considered on the consent agenda, the following resolutions and bills are being called up from the second reading and final passage calendars today. They are numbers 210787, 210795, 210636. All other bills and resolutions are being held, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. We will, before we consider the agenda today, we will proceed with the public comment session. So we're going to take a 5-minute, maybe 10-minute break to give our technology professionals an opportunity to connect with the individuals who wish to testify today. So we'll take a brief break. Thank you.
Council President, council members, and participants, we are now live.
Thank you. And welcome back. We're going to consider our public comment now, but before we proceed, we will now take a moment to go over the ground rules relating to that. So before we consider the public comment, we'll go as follows. Public comment must concern matters on the second reading and final passage calendars for possible action at a session of council. A speaker on any of those matters must sign up in order to testify. You must call 215-686-3406 by 3 p.m. the day before the session to sign up for the public comment. When you call, we will take your name, phone number, the number of the legislative item you are commenting on, and whether you are in support of or against the legislation, and add your name to the list. We will then telephone each person on the list during the council session and invite them to our remote meeting. Under ideal circumstances, we would like to have 3 minutes. I'm going to ask, it's a little on the edge in terms of the volume, so we're going to authorize 3 minutes, but we're going to ask people to get as quickly as possible through their testimony to ensure that you're able to get all of your testimony in that time limit. But from time to time, that may vary based on the volume. In order to be fair, though, for all those who are wishing to speak, I intend to hold faithfully to the established time limit. And once invited to the meeting and asked to begin your testimony, a timer will be started and you will monitor your remaining time throughout your testimony. When there are 30 seconds remaining your time, you will be reminded of this. And once your allotted time has passed, you will be asked to conclude your remarks. And shortly thereafter, you will be muted and disconnected from the remote meeting. So reserve the right to limit the number of speakers where repetitious comments are being made on the same subject. This can affect callback and public comment at the meeting. Please be aware that the public meeting is being recorded, and because the meeting is public, participants have reasonable expectations. So by continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. I will now ask Mr. Decker to please call the first name on the list.
The first speaker is Sue Hoffman, commenting on 210787.
Good morning. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Sue Hoffman. I'm the program manager for the Women in Non-Traditional Careers Project, known as WINK, and that project is sponsored by Philadelphia Works, the Philadelphia Workforce Development Board. I'm speaking in favor of Resolution 210787, honoring Erin O'Brien Hoffman, we are not related, for receiving a 2021 Tradeswomen Heroes Award from NABTU, the North America's Building Trades Unions. I want to personally thank Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson for acknowledging Erin and her work. I've known Erin for 3 years, since the beginning of the Women in Non-Traditional Careers initiative, when WINK decided to start its first Tradeswomen Readiness Program this past summer. We chose Erin as the lead instructor and program coordinator. Erin went above and beyond to make sure she organized field trips to introduce aspiring tradeswomen to as many apprenticeship programs as possible. She personally counseled and connected the graduates to opportunities in the union building trades. So Erin really is a true role model and a mentor for women in the trades in the Philadelphia region. Erin knows that women can thrive in non-traditional employment and earn great pay and benefits to take care of their families. Through her work and through WINK, together we are making it possible for more women to succeed in the trades in the Philadelphia area. So I want to thank Council for honoring Erin O'Brien Hoffman with this well-deserved recognition. She is truly a hero. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Erin O'Brien Hoffman, commenting on 210787.
Before you start, could somebody mute their mic? We're hearing a lot of that. Thank you. Ms. O'Brien?
Yeah.
Yes. Please proceed with your testimony.
My name is Erin O'Brien Hoffman. I am the commercial paint instructor for District Council 21, Local Union 2011. As Sue had mentioned, I also had the opportunity to be the lead instructor for WINK, Women in Non-Traditional Careers, this past summer for its very first cohort. And I'm humbled and honored that I'm being recognized, in today's meeting. And this is not a chore or a job for me, and my career has, come with much pleasure, and I get to be a cheerleader every day for the women in Philadelphia to enter the Philadelphia Union Building Trades. And while this job it may not be for every girl. It is for any girl, and I hope that I can continue to encourage women to follow their dreams in regards of the non-traditional workforce. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Pat Eating, commenting on 210787.
Good morning, Mr. Ide. Just state your name for the record, and please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Pat Eiding. I am the president of the Philadelphia Council of the AFL-CIO, also Secretary Treasurer of the Philadelphia Building Trades Council. It is my pleasure to speak to President Clark and the commission member, council members. It's my pleasure to speak on behalf of this resolution for Erin O'Brien Hoffman. I have known Erin for many years and watched her as she took the message of the great career that is before a young woman in not only city of Philadelphia building construction trades, but nationally. She's done a tremendous effort. Through her tremendous effort, many women are now in the building construction trades here in Philadelphia. But her message and her hard work is not only just with the Philadelphia building trades. Her effort in WINC, which is Women in Non-Traditional Trades, has been over and above what we could expect anywhere nationally, let alone here in Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is the forefront of women in the trades because of Erin and the folks that she works with. I just am so proud to be able to support this resolution for Erin and the great work she's done and the great work she's doing as she continues on with training young women and young men, actually, in the construction field. It's a great career because of her tenacity and caring. A lot of women who wouldn't think that they would would want this as a career have moved forward, and I think it's just to her credit. The National has recognized her, and I think it's only fitting that the city of Philadelphia recognize her, and I am proud to be able to speak for her and support this resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Cynthia Stinson, commenting on 210793.
Good morning. I'll state your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony.
My name is Cynthia Stinson. I'm in support of Bill 210794. Dorothy Bolton made a powerful quote in 1983, and I quote, she cares about the family she works for as she cares about her own, and yet she said domestic workers have never been recognized as part of the labor force. This day is important because she's a hidden gem to most domestic workers. She is a hidden gem to myself. She is an advocate, and her story will empower others to become an advocate for themselves in this industry. Lastly, Dorothy Bolton is important because this is one step closer to closing the gap on overworked and underpaid domestic workers. I am a domestic worker. I am a nanny. I am a professional. I deserve to be treated as any other hardworking individual. Making October 13th Dorothy Bolton Day would mean the world to me because I've been a domestic worker for 22 years now. And without domestic workers, there would be no doctors, there would be no lawyers, there would be no nurses, because we are the foundation of the working class.
Okay. Are you done?
Yes, I'm all done.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Shanique Jones, commenting on 210793 and 210794.
Good morning. State your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Shanique Jones, and I'm an organizer with the National Domestic Workers Alliance and its We Dream in Black chapter. I'm calling in support of Bill 210794 to recognize Dorsey Bolton and all Black domestic workers and the 16,000 domestic workers in the city. So there is no America without domestic workers. Since America's inception, Black women have done the work that makes all other work possible, and at first for no pay at all. So I stand in solidarity with these amazing women like Cynthia, who just spoke, who continue the beautiful yet unappreciated work of care for your children, your elderly, for your household. They deserve respect, dignity, and recognition, and they are powerful just as Dorsey Bolton. So I'll end with a wonderful quote from our own Jennifer Mount, who is a caregiver in this city. And she said, "If the feeling is good, let it be heard. The most reliable way to predict the future is to create it." Today, Dorsey Bolton Day is a creation for future domestic workers, and we, the National Domestic Workers Alliance, and We Dream in Black are stronger than we know. Vote yes. Over 600 domestic workers and supporters have signed the petition in support as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We really appreciate it.
The next speaker is Cynthia Vinson, commenting on 210794.
Good morning. Just state your name for the record and please proceed with your testimony. Ms. Vinson. So the question is it Ms. Vinson and Ms. Stinson the same person? Because I noticed that's the same person. Okay, she's already testified. All right, Mr. Decker, move on to the next name.
The next speaker is Whitney Brown, commenting on 210755.
Good morning. State your name for the record and please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Whitney Brown, and I am the Policy Associate at Women Against Abuse. I'm honored to speak with you today about Resolution 210755. On behalf of Women Against Abuse, our sister agencies, and the survivors of domestic violence that we serve, I want to thank City Council for recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Philadelphia. As we prepared for this month, it was impossible not to reflect on the violence that has plagued our community over the last year. City Council is very aware of this, and we join them with both anger and compassion as we hear about shooting after shooting and death after death in our city. On behalf of our clients, and this month especially, we come with a plea that our city's plans for addressing the current levels of violence consider the impact of domestic violence, which is often overlooked in anti-violence strategies. So let's think about it. If those who are experiencing violence and those who are perpetrating it are coming from homes where violence is a way of life, how can we expect to see something different in the streets? So we see this cycle, and we can stop it. So let's consider the ways in which violent and controlling behaviors that for centuries has been happening behind closed doors is impacting our communities. And let's acknowledge that what we're seeing on the news and in our streets is just a tip of the iceberg of what some people are experiencing in their own homes. So we know this, and as far as policy goes, I ask you all to consider whether you're prepared to acknowledge, address, and respond to your neighbors who are experiencing domestic violence who need support, both victims and people acting abusively. For example, do you have hotline cards? Are you aware of safe housing options to suggest to them? What about therapeutic supports? And that's just one side of what's needed. The other side is prevention. So we ask ourselves, are we advocating for teen dating violence education in our neighborhood schools so that our young people can learn about the warning signs of abusive relationships before they enter into them, so that they can be ready with healthy communication strategies, feel confident in talking to their peers about violence, and also know where to go to for support? And we see this cycle here in City Council, and the young people do too, and we can work together to stop this. In closing, while today is an important day to officially recognize Domestic Violence Awareness Month in our city, we must also remember that every day, thousands of Philadelphians are experiencing domestic violence, and we have to better understand the connections between all types of violence if we want to affect change in our community. We need your leadership, and we know you're up for the challenge. So again, I thank you in proclaiming October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I urge you all to make it count. Thanks again, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Jane Golden, commenting on 210788.
Good morning. State your name for the record, and please proceed with your testimony. Ms. Golden? That's so she connected. Modesta.
Yeah, we're trying to connect her, Council President.
All right. Can we move on to Ms. Bell and come back?
The next speaker is Linda Bell, commenting on 210636.
Good morning. This states your name
Hi.
for the record.
Hi. Yes, my name is Linda Bell, CPI alum. My testimony today is in support of Ordinance 210636. However, I also put in my further testimony to oppose Ordinance 210205, which reads as an ordinance amending Chapter 9 of Subcode PM, the Philadelphia Property Maintenance Code of the Title 4 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Additional Special Requirements, to establish a program in which the city may perform certain urgent repairs and bill the property owner, all under certain terms and conditions. My opposition is in the presentation of the ordinance as is, without further instruction as to how these urgent repairs would be identified, the property owner notified, how qualified workmen will be determined, and the billing amount determined. I am further requesting public hearings to discuss such concerns and proposed remedies. What plans are in place to offer financial assistance to those property owners to assure that these repairs will not contribute to the loss of property by owner? As a recipient of shoddy work through the weatherization program without remedy, I would also ask that strict regulations and inspection be exercised, that the repairs do not cause additional damage to property, and that the repairs are inclusive of proper and complete closure of repair site, i.e. drywall and cement. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We'll ask our technical staff to look at and review what you just indicated in your testimony. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Modesta, we get Ms. Golden back yet?
Yes, she is in, Council President.
Here you go. Good morning. State your name for the record, and please proceed with your testimony.
Yes, my name is Jane Golden, and I am the Executive Director of the Mural Arts Program in Philadelphia. Yay! And I'm just really thrilled that Council is introducing a resolution to declare this Mural Arts Month. I'm really grateful, Council President, to you and all your colleagues for years and years and years of support. We believe deeply and passionately and tenaciously that art should be used in the service of all the citizens of our city, and we try every single day to stretch every single city dollar that we get as far as it can go and do work in criminal justice, behavioral health, education, and community development. We're thrilled that Philadelphia is known internationally as the city of murals, that people come from all over, that there's huge interest in our city because of our commitment to artists, to public art, and communities. And during this month of October, we're shining a light on the communities we work with, on our participants, our stakeholders, and our artists. And we have film screenings, we have dedications, exhibitions, and panel discussions. And if people go to our website, muralarts.org, I hope you'll find out about it. I hope you'll participate, and please become part of the Mural Arts family. And I just want you to know how deeply committed and passionate we are about this work. We want to do our work tirelessly on behalf of citizens. We want to shine a light on the incredible artist community that we have. We have fabulous arts organizations in the city, and we feel that Mural Arts is a really interesting nexus of bringing together artists, communities, the public sector, the private sector, working all on behalf to make our city a more beautiful, healthy, wonderful place. And at the end of the day, we have a saying, and that saying is that art ignites change. And I say that to all of you with the utmost seriousness, because we get to see those changes in individuals and communities, and by extension, there is a giant change in the city of Philadelphia as we've turned the city into an outdoor museum. And I do not take it lightly that we are able to do what we do every day because of the extraordinary civic leaders who support our work. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Council Member Kathy Gilmore Richardson, thank you. Thank you for introducing this. And Council President, thank you for 25 years of supporting us. And all of you, it's just my gratitude is huge, and we won't let you down. Thank you.
And yay to your testimony. And thank you so much. We appreciate what you do.
There are no other speakers in the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Decker. That concludes our public comment session. Before we proceed with our resolution consent agenda, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Brooks.
Thank you, Council President. Today, I'm grateful to have my resolution commemorating the October 13th as Dorothy Bolton Day. It's going to be passed today in City Council. Dorothy Bolton was a leader in the civil rights and labor movements, and one of the first women to elevate unfair, unsafe, undignified working conditions that domestic workers face every day. As many of us know, domestic workers and farm workers were excluded from federal labor protections because these roles were typically performed by people of color after slavery was abolished. Today, these workers still lack many basic protections that all other forms of work are granted. Dorothy Bolton was not only a pivotal figure in the fight for racial, gender, and economic justice, she was a proud domestic worker. Domestic labor, cleaning, cooking, providing child care, providing emotional and physical support for families, maintaining a home is some of the hardest, most necessary work in our society. It is the kind of work that make all other forms of labor possible. I know this because I've been a domestic worker. I know what it's like to work in other people's homes and feel undervalued, underpaid, and overlooked. And that's why we need to recognize bold, courageous women like Dorothy Bolton, who rejected mistreatment and asserted their own dignity and power. Ms. Bolton founded the National Domestic Workers Union and inspired generations of domestic workers who were left out of essential labor protections to organize together, demand better for themselves and for each other, and to harness their collective power. I put forth this resolution in partnership with National Domestic Workers Alliance, the PA chapter, and with the support of many of my colleagues, because too often, Black women movement leaders are overlooked in history. Her work exemplified the approach to organizing and to politics that I firmly believe in, where it's not about any one person. It's about uplifting those around you and activating working people to fight for justice. I'm honored to have this body recognize Dorothy Bolton Day next week on what would have been her 98th birthday. Let her memory remind us that in times of struggle and hardship, it is all even more important that we stand up for what's right and show up for each other and envision a better world. So thank you, Council President, and thank you to all of my colleagues for your support.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We will now move to our consent agenda. I would ask Mr. Decker to read the titles of all resolutions on the consent agenda, and after each title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of the resolution on the consent agenda. Upon such an objection, without debate, the resolution will be immediately removed from the resolution consent agenda and placed on today's regular final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, if you can please read the titles of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda now.
Resolution number 210755, entitled a resolution declaring October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the city of Philadelphia. And resolution number 210785, entitled a resolution supporting the workers of the Department of Homeland Security contractor Triple Canopy in their reasonable demands for improved working conditions, particularly their protection from hair discrimination. And resolution number 210786, entitled a resolution recognizing Wednesday, October 6, 2021 as Energy Efficiency Day in the city of Philadelphia. And resolution number 210788, entitled a resolution joining Mural Arts Philadelphia in celebrating October as Mural Arts Month in Philadelphia. And resolution number 210789, entitled a resolution authorizing the City Council Committees on Children and Youth and Education to hold public hearings on the search and hiring process for the next superintendent of the School District of Philadelphia and the role that the perspective of families, students, teachers, school administrators, paraprofessionals, support staff, and community members must play throughout the search process. And resolution number 210790, entitled a resolution condemning the inhumane treatment of Haitian migrants at the border and urging the Biden administration to immediately suspend all deportations of Haitians, expedite the release of Haitian immigrants held in U.S. immigration facilities, uphold the right to seek asylum, and ensure a clean pathway to citizenship for essential workers, dreamers, temporary protected status holders, and their families in all economic recovery legislation, including through the budget reconciliation. And resolution number 210791, entitled a resolution also naming the 5200 block of West Burke Street as Charles Chucky Rainey Jr. Way, in honor of Charles Rainey Jr., to commemorate his legacy as the ambassador of Winfield and longtime dedication to the residents of the Winfield neighborhood of Philadelphia. And resolution number 210793, entitled a resolution recognizing and honoring the contributions of Dorothy Bolden to the National Domestic Workers Alliance, labor organizing, and advocacy for workers' rights, and further proclaiming October 13th as Dorothy Bolden Day in the city of Philadelphia. And resolution number 210794, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to certain properties located in the 3rd Councilmanic District pursuant to the requirements of the Commonwealth Land Bank Act. And resolution number 210796, entitled a resolution honoring and congratulating Champion of the Week, Julia R. Masterman Boys Tennis Team, on their successful 2021 season and finishing second in the PIAA 2A state playoffs. And resolution number 210797, entitled a resolution proclaiming October 7, 2021 as William Still Day in the city of Philadelphia in honor of what would have been his 200th birthday.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Decker. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion to adopt each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it, and each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda have been adopted. We will now consider the bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, before we call for a motion, just read the title of resolution number 210787.
A resolution recognizing and honoring Erin O'Brien Hoffman for receiving a 2021 Tradeswoman Heroes Award from the National Association of Building Trades Unions.
Thank you. I'm going to recognize Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson and then recognize her for a motion on that particular resolution.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Today, colleagues, I ask for your support for Resolution 210787, recognizing and congratulating Erin O'Brien Hoffman for receiving a 2021 Tradeswoman Heroes Award from the National Association of Building Trade Unions. I want to thank all of my colleagues who co-sponsored this resolution, including Councilmember Heenan, Jones, Thomas, Brooks, Parker, and Dom. As you can see in the resolution, Erin is simply incredible. She's a working mom who not only gets the job done, she also donates her time to training, mentoring other women in the trades, and advocating strongly for the benefits of labor unions. Erin is a proud journey worker with International Union of Painters and Allied Trades Local 2011. I am so thrilled to honor Erin and all of her exemplary accomplishments, but I also wanted to take a moment to take a page out of her book and talk about why more women should join the trades. There are many paths for women that lead to higher paying, family supporting, and sustaining work without having to take on debt for advanced degrees, and that's something I know very, very well. Fewer than 10% of women go into non-traditional careers, but these careers provide paid workforce training, benefits, and guaranteed employment opportunities. If you're a woman interested in joining the trades, I urge you to visit philaworks.org/wink and get connected to women in non-traditional careers, an amazing initiative that can help you better understand and prepare for all of those incredible opportunities. You can also view my apprenticeship guidebook, which is available on phlcouncil.com. It is a one-stop resource for learning about opportunities in the trades here in the city of Philadelphia. And the goal of the guidebook is to really help demystify the application process for people who may never see themselves in the trades. Also, tomorrow, you can join my office for our Labor Friday program with the Operating Engineers Local 542. We will stream the program live, so follow us on Facebook at Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson. I know you all have heard me talk about this many, many times before, but creating strong pipelines to family supporting and sustaining careers is crucial to growing our local economy, reducing poverty and gun violence, and creating more opportunities for Philadelphians. I want to congratulate Erin for being nationally recognized by the National Association of Building Trades Unions, and I humbly ask you, colleagues, for your support. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, woman. Let's make your formal motion.
Mr. President, I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted, and we look forward to the day when this is no longer a non-traditional job for women. All right. Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read the tally of resolutions number 210795.
A resolution congratulating and honoring the Sadie Tanner Moselle Alexander School for being recognized by the United States Department of Education as a 2021 National Blue Ribbon School.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gauthier. One motion on the resolution.
Thank you, Council President. First, I just wanted to offer another congratulations to the kids and parents and staff at Penn Alexander. And with that, Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved in second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of Bill number 210636.
An ordinance amending Title 12 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Traffic Code to clarify the appropriate methods and circumstances of enforcement of traffic violations in order to provide for the fair and transparent administration of the traffic violations, prevent racial disparities, and protect public safety, and making technical changes.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas for an amendment to Bill number 210636.
Thank you, Council President. And I would like to offer an amendment to Bill number 210636. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of Council. I move forward with the adoption of the amendment.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it. And Bill number 210-636 has been amended. Bill number 210-636 as amended will be placed on our final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution recognizing and honoring the United Age Group Track Club Association for its dedication to the development of young track and field athletes, and further authorizing the Committee on Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs to hold public hearings on the state of track facilities in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I swiftly move for the adoption of this resolution.
A second.
It's been swiftly moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Education to hold hearings on the procurement, contracting, and management processes of the School District of Philadelphia for student busing to establish what, if any, errors, omissions, or lessons learned can be derived from the systematic failure of contracted busing to deliver students on time and ready to learn, introduced by Councilman Thomas.
Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And there are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Prior to recognizing members regarding speeches, I will note for the record, this time we will use the chat feature available on Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized. In order to comply with the Sunshine Act, the chat feature must only be used for this particular purpose. With that said, are there any speeches on behalf of the minority? Chair recognizes Councilwoman Brooks.
Thank you, Council President. I was slow that time. I had to hurry up and get it in there.
I waited because I knew you were going to have something.
So last night I returned from a day trip to DC where activists and elected officials and faith leaders and working people from across the country came together to demand action from Congress and call on them to pass the Build Back Better plan. Yesterday we rallied, we marched, and we prayed together to tell the Senate that our communities cannot wait for action on climate care, education, healthcare, and infrastructure. As my colleague, Councilmember Gilmore Richardson, eloquently outlined in her recent op-ed, Democrats have a historic opportunity to seize this moment and take action in this climate crisis. For communities in Philadelphia that have been plagued by decades of disinvestment, austerity, and environmental racism, communities like mine, that isn't just a question of politics, it's a question of survival. When we talk about lead pipes, toxic schools, blight, air pollution, and exposure to extreme weather events, we're already damaging our health and threatening our lives. We need investments in public infrastructure, green public schools, neighborhood safety, and sustainable green industries today. Actually, yesterday. And while we need to keep up the pressure on the Senate to deliver the funding that our constituents desperately need, we also need to look at our local level to ensure that we are doing everything to address the climate crisis and support our communities. One area that we should focus on is protecting and stewarding community ownership of green spaces. Community gardens detoxify land, empower neighbors, and produce healthy food and beautify our city. They are safe havens for gun violence and give young people education and employment opportunities. And they are currently under imminent threat due to an irresponsible decision made in the 90s to sell off vacant lots using U.S. bank liens. In order to protect these spaces, our city must take action to protect these sites from sheriff sale. I know so many of us on this council body have been active in the discussions on how to preserve community gardens. This is not a new issue, but it demands that we act with some urgency. I want to thank Councilmember Kiona Sanchez in particular for her dedication to this issue that impacts so many spaces in her district. And I would also like to thank my colleagues on this renewed effort, Sheriff Bilal and my colleagues, Council President, Council Members Gim and Gautier, as we work to push for solutions to this long-standing issue. We will be reaching out soon with more about this work, and I hope many of my colleagues will join with us going forward. The climate crisis is not a target that we could slowly approach. It is here. It wreaks havoc on most of our vulnerable community members each day. Given this, it is our collective responsibility to do everything in our power to seek our local and federal solutions to ensure survival and safety for all Philadelphians. So thank you so much, colleagues.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes on behalf of the majority, Councilwoman Maria Quinones-Sanchez.
Thank you, Council President. And let me take a moment to highlight and thank Council Member Brooks for their renewed commitment, particularly for at-large members as we work through some of these district issues. On the issue of the U.S. bank liens, many times I say I sound like a broken record, and I am a broken record, but it's always important to have new energy, new voices, new spaces, and finding the intersection between those green spaces and our environment and a healthy environment and neighborhoods are so important. So I thank you, and I look forward to working through this process and sharing the 14 years experience and frustration up to now. But I rise this again, as I've been doing all month. It's Hispanic Month. Tomorrow we have a very important occasion, and again, another point of intersection. I want to highlight and recognize all of the members of the LGBTQIA community who for many years have been incredible supporters of the memory and the legacy of Gloria Casares, and their leadership took it upon themselves. And tomorrow we will bestow the first Latino marker in the city of Philadelphia to Gloria, the first executive director of the LGBTQ office here in the city of Philadelphia under the Nutter administration. And so again, I want to thank them. Another point of intersectionality between Hispanic Month, LGBTQI issues that are important social justice issues for us. I asked if any of my members are downtown, any of my colleague and members are downtown tomorrow around noon. We will be by the flagpole. Please join us for a moment to recognize a valiant woman. I know we're recognizing women of color, trailblazers in this council, and I hope that becomes the new norm as we write this history. It's her story, it's our story. But I thank all of the folks in the community and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kathy Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Quickly, I just wanted to thank my colleagues, Councilmember Brooks and also Sanchez, for their remarks. It is true that our city will not be able to curb the climate crisis without federal support. And we know that President Biden has put out a plan that will finally invest directly in the families and communities here in our city that need it most. So we are humbly asking, requesting, demanding that the Build Back Better plan be passed, because we know it's time to meet this historic moment with action that will really transform our nation by investing in our people, in our communities, and in our planet. So I just wanted to thank my colleagues for that. And lastly, I wanted to thank Councilmember Brooks for introducing and passing the Dorothy Lee Bolden resolution. Dorothy Lee Bolden was the founder of the National Domestic Workers Union, and she was a domestic worker. It was my honor to vote in favor of this resolution because my mother, Lorraine Jenkins Gilmore, and my grandmother, Eva Jenkins, were both domestic workers here in the city of Philadelphia back in the 50s and the 60s. And back then, the stories my mom told me was that, they would clean houses and take care of families on the other side of Girard Avenue, because back in the 50s, you couldn't go past a certain side on Girard Avenue as a Black person here in our city. So I just wanted to rise on the occasion of the passage of this resolution to honor the memory of my mother, Lorraine Jenkins Gilmore, my grandmother, Eva Jenkins, and all the women and Black women around the world who have served as domestic workers. Thank you very, very much, Councilmember Brooks, and thank you to the National Domestic Workers Alliance.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last week, we all looked in horror as a individual entered Jefferson Hospital and took the life of another worker there. That individual then went to a nearby high school of the future, began shooting in the air, where he was bravely approached by members of the Philadelphia Police Department, where he began then to shoot at them and struck them one in the face. We have fought the fight and continue to fight the fight against gun violence. So much so that we have passed a law, November 2019, where we have a thing called red flag laws, which says that if you observe, whether you're a school principal or a spouse or a family member or a co-worker, someone exhibiting crisis within the mental health aspect, and nobody always knows when someone's going through something, but sometimes it's kind of obvious, and they demonstrate that they are a danger to themselves or a danger to others, that we can petition the courts to have firearms removed from their property. And within 5 days, they have a right to go before a judge to argue the case that they should have their firearms returned. In the case last week, the individual that is alleged to have committed these shootings had his guns taken from him because he exhibited those kinds of mental health crises. But then they were returned back to them. When we go through the steps, Mr. President, and you have faced these kinds of obstacles at risk of being sued personally, to put laws on the books, we intend for them to be enforced by those individuals that have sovereignty over them, meaning the courts. So if somebody tells you that I'm a danger on Monday, we should believe them on Tuesday and take steps on Wednesday to safeguard them from themselves and to protect the community from them. So we have to use the tools on our tool belt, red flag laws, that can protect us from individuals who are often crying out for help, often off of medication, or experiencing some type of life crisis that has pushed them to that edge. We can't predict every murder. We can't be on every crime scene. But we have some red flags that can be exhibited so we can take action to protect ourselves. And confiscation of firearms from someone who has stated or exhibited that they're about to go to the next level with violence, we should take heed on what they say. And I encourage us to take a look at that process and say how many people have had guns confiscated since 2019, and how many of them have been returned, and what was the process by which, and judgments by which they were returned. Some things we can't predict, some things we can't prevent, but there are others that give us clear signs where we can step up to the plate, take the laws that are on the books, and use them for public safety. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. You were right on point with that one. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Council President Clark. I too want to lend my voice to the choir and say a special thank you to our colleague, Councilmember Brooks, for her resolution recognizing Dorothy Lee Bolden, founder of the National Domestic Workers Union of America. And when Councilmember Brooks first introduced this resolution, for those whose matriarchs actually did this work, it could not not remind you of what those experiences were like. With that being said, I want to, lift up Dorothy Mae Parker, Viola Reed, and Mary Foster. They were my grandmother and two great aunts. And when they migrated from Manning, South Carolina, a place that they tell me, Mr. President, is so small that if you're in a car and you blink your eyes, you will pass it. That's how small and rural the town was. But they did the best they could with what they had, took care of other families, and that they had no dignity because, as my grandmother and Aunt Vi and Aunt Mary would say, they did multiple houses, were paid under the table, and people don't recognize that these private employers took them out of the tax system because they left the brown envelope on the table. So after they would do their 3 or 4 clients, they would go pick up their envelopes, but they had no health care and they had no retirement security. So after Mommy and Aunt Vi and Aunt Mary were too old to get on their knees and scrub baseboards in somebody else's house, they ultimately had to be dependent on government to take care of them. For those people who don't know what that means, and I'm going to take somebody back, but it means money in books that comes in colors, that you stand in line in a supermarket, and I did, I can't speak for anybody else, and I remember not wanting people to see me have to use that money, so I would wait and let people with other carts get in front of me because I didn't have cash. I had the purple, the brown, the green. That's what I had, Mr. President. I also had, because my grandmother, who was my primary caretaker, had no health care, we had a blue medical card for me that was mailed to the house. And that also meant that I had to go with her to something called, and I know it's archaic now, but I just want to remind people from a history perspective, it was called the 3-2 Center. And it was at Cheltenham and Ogons Avenue, and we would catch the XH on a good day. And Councilmember Brooks, when you talk about dignity, those women were forced to stand in line and take that money, and my grandmother could be in good spirits, and after she left, sometimes she was deflated. Why, Mr. President? Because the people sometimes who were there, they didn't respect the people who were dependent on government. They weren't bad. It wasn't because she was bad. She wasn't lazy, just home. But because she didn't have the dignity of retirement, security, health care, and to be quite frank, a living wage from the people she was cleaning for, it resulted in her having to go there. So, I'm going to be a friend of this movement. I want to thank Councilmember Brooks again for her leadership. Thank Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson for that anecdote and sharing that, because when people see us here, sometimes they just think we like topsy-turvy just arrived. And people have got to know that we come from where they come from, Mr. President. So thank you so very much for your leadership, Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I think that concludes our speeches today on the minority and the majority. And with that, Chair recognizes Councilmember Jones for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, October 14th, 2021 at 10 a.m.
Second.
Thank you. To the moved in second that council stand adjourned until Thursday, October 14th, 2021 at 10 a.m. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you all very much, and please continue to be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.